Welcome back to Nightmare Crypt. I need to say this fast, and I need to say it clearly. If you're listening to this, and you've ever received an invitation you didn't ask for, something formal, printed, official looking, with no return address, burn it. Don't read it twice. Don't try to figure out who sent it. Don't tell anyone you got it. Because once they know you opened it, it's already too late. I didn't believe in secret societies. Not the real kind. Not the conspiracy board with red string kind. I believed in fraternities, alumni groups, donors, political clubs, rich people networking. That's it, boring stuff. I was wrong. Something happened to me 3 years ago. I've never told the full story out loud. I tried once to a friend, but he laughed and asked if I'd been watching too many documentaries. I dropped it. He stopped answering my calls 2 weeks later. This isn't paranoia. Paranoia would mean it's in my head. This isn't in my head. It leaves marks. It leaves physical proof. It leaves gaps in time and footage missing from security cameras and strangers who know things about me they shouldn't. They don't kill you. That's the worst part. They make you stay quiet. And if you don't, they make sure no one believes you. If I cut off suddenly, if this recording ends without warning, just understand I tried. I waited too long before speaking up. I kept thinking it would stop if I cooperated, if I signed what they asked me to sign, if I showed up when they told me to show up. It doesn't stop, it tightens. And once you're inside it, once you've seen even a fraction of what they actually do, silence isn't optional. It's enforced. Act 1, normality with unease. 3 years ago, I was working as a compliance analyst for a mid-sized financial firm in Chicago. I checked transactions, flagged inconsistencies, wrote reports no one read. I lived in a one-bedroom apartment in Logan Square. My life was routine. Wake up at 6:30, shower, coffee, blue line downtown, headphones in, same lunch spot every Tuesday, gym 3 nights a week, call my sister on Sundays. Predictable, stable. That's why the envelope stood out. It was thick, cream-colored, my full legal name printed in raised lettering, not handwritten, not typed, embossed. No return address. Inside was a single black card. It had a date, a time, an address. Under that, attendance is expected. No logo, no explanation. Just that. I assumed it was some kind of corporate networking event, maybe something my boss signed me up for. I asked him the next day if he'd sent me to something in Lincoln Park. He frowned. Why? I showed him the card. He studied it for longer than I expected. Then he handed it back and said, "Weird." That was it. No joke, no shrug, just weird. I almost didn't go. I should have thrown it away. But curiosity wins more often than caution, especially when nothing in your life has ever truly gone wrong. The address led to a brownstone. No signage, no event banners, just a normal, expensive-looking residence. I checked the time. I was 10 minutes early. The door opened before I knocked. A man in his late 50s stood there, gray hair, clean suit, no tie. He said my name like we were old friends. "Come in. We've been expecting you." That phrase should have set off alarms. It didn't. Inside there were maybe 15 people, men and women, all different ages, all dressed normally, no robes, no candles, no theatrics. They were drinking wine and talking like it was a dinner party. Someone handed me a glass. I asked what this was about. A woman smiled and said, "Opportunity." They asked about my job, my education, my family. They knew the answers before I gave them. Not in a flashy way, just subtle corrections. "You graduated in 2017, right? Not 2016. You moved to Chicago in March, not February." Small details, enough to make me feel slightly off balance. At the end of the night, the gray-haired man handed me a folder. Inside were printed documents, legal language, confidentiality agreements, non-disclosure clauses longer than any contract I'd ever seen. I laughed. "What is this?" He didn't laugh back. "This is the price of entry." "Entry into what?" He tilted his head slightly. "Into the room where decisions are made." That sounded ridiculous, vague, but something in his tone wasn't theatrical. It was procedural. like onboarding paperwork. I didn't sign that night. I told them I'd think about it. The gray-haired man nodded. Of course, we'll know when you've decided. That sentence didn't make sense, but I left. I went home. I put the folder on my kitchen counter and went to bed. The next morning, my alarm didn't go off. My phone was dead. Not low battery, dead. When I turned it on, I had 3 missed calls from an unknown number, and 1 voicemail. I didn't recognize the voice, but it was calm. You left without signing, that's understandable, but delaying doesn't change the outcome. We'd prefer cooperation. Click. I told myself it was some elaborate marketing scam. Maybe a weird exclusive club trying to intimidate prospects. I blocked the number. That night, I got home from work and the folder was gone. I lived alone. No sign of forced entry, nothing stolen, just the folder missing. I checked my door camera app. The footage between 1:12 p.m. and 3:47 p.m. was corrupted, just gray static. I contacted the building manager. He swore no one entered my unit. I tried to rationalize it. Tech glitch, coincidence. But then my sister called. Did you try to call me today? She asked. No. You left a voicemail. I hadn't. She played it for me. It was my voice, monotone, flat. Everything's fine. Don't worry if you don't hear from me for a few days. I felt my stomach drop. I hadn't said that. That was the first moment I felt real fear. Not cinematic fear, confused, nauseating fear. Something was happening outside my control, and I didn't understand the rules yet. Act 2, escalation. I didn't go back to the brownstone. I ignored the unknown numbers. I deleted emails from senders with blank subject lines. I tried to go about my life. That's when the pattern started. Every morning at exactly 4:17 a.m. I'd wake up. No noise, no dream, just awake. The first few times I thought it was stress. Then I noticed something else. My bedroom door would be slightly more open than I left it. Not wide, just an inch. I live alone. I started wedging a chair under the knob before bed. At 4:17 a.m. I'd wake up. The chair would be tipped over, the door open an inch. No broken locks, no signs of entry. I installed a second camera inside the apartment. The first night it recorded static from 4:12 a.m. to 4:26 a.m. The timestamp kept running, but the image was just gray interference. Every night after that, same thing. Static from 4:12 to 4:26. I'd lie there, staring at the ceiling, waiting for 4:17. One night I stayed awake on purpose. 4:16. Nothing. 4:17. The air felt heavier. That's the only way I can describe it, like pressure before a storm. I heard a faint whisper, not from outside, from inside the apartment. Low, close, indistinct. I couldn't make out words. I grabbed my phone and turned on the flashlight. Silence. I checked every room. Under the bed. Nothing. When I checked the camera footage in the morning, there was no static. Instead, there was video. At 4:13 a.m., my bedroom door slowly opened. The chair slid across the floor on its own. At 4:15, I sat up in bed, but I don't remember sitting up. On the footage, I swung my legs over the side. I stood, and I walked out of frame. The timestamp ran until 4:26. Then I walked back in, lay down, closed my eyes. At 4:27, the alarm I had set for 6:30 glitched and reset itself to 6:30, like nothing happened. I don't remember leaving the bed. Resignation email at 4:22 a.m. I hadn't. They showed it to me. It came from my account. Subject line, effective immediately. No explanation, just a signature. My signature. That's when I understood. They weren't trying to scare me. They were demonstrating reach. I went back to the brownstone. I didn't have an invitation this time. The door opened before I knocked. The gray-haired man looked almost sympathetic. Resistance is exhausting, he said. What do you want? I asked. Participation. In what? Maintenance. He gestured for me to come inside. This time the house felt different. Heavier. There were fewer people. On the dining table was a stack of documents and a tablet. On the tablet was live footage of my apartment, bedroom, kitchen, bathroom, live. My heart started pounding so hard I felt dizzy. "You can't keep doing this," I said. "We can," he replied calmly. "The question is whether we need to." That was the moment I realized this wasn't recruitment. It was containment. And if you're still listening, do me a favor. Subscribe to Nightmare Crypt for the next person who needs to hear this before it's too late. Because what happened next, that's when it stopped being subtle. That's when it stopped being about persuasion. That's when they showed me what silence actually costs. Act 3, full descent. They didn't threaten my life. They threatened my identity. The gray-haired man explained it like a business transaction. You have access to financial systems, data flows, regulatory blind spots. You see anomalies before others do. I flagged discrepancies, I said. That's it. Exactly. They wanted me to stop flagging certain transactions. Not all, just specific patterns tied to shell corporations and non-profit foundations. Accounts that technically passed audits but felt circular. I'd noticed them before. I assumed they were tax maneuvers. They weren't. "We don't require you to commit crimes," he said. "We require you to ignore them. And if I don't?" He slid a folder across the table. Inside were printed photos. My sister walking into her apartment. My gym. My old college dorm. Images taken recently. "You misunderstand," he said quietly. "This is not punishment. This is insulation. The world is chaotic. We maintain continuity." That was the first time I felt paralyzing dread. Not panic, not adrenaline, just a cold understanding that they could reach anyone attached to me. I signed. My hand shook so badly I could barely hold the pen. After that, the 417 wake-ups stopped. The whispers stopped. My apartment cameras functioned normally. It felt like relief. It wasn't. The work changed. Transactions I would have flagged were auto-cleared by higher authorization. Emails I drafted questioning irregularities were unsent. Once I watched a report I wrote delete itself mid-sentence. And at 4:17 a.m., though I wasn't waking anymore, I'd find drafts in my notes app. Reminders. Stay compliant. Observation is constant. I don't remember writing them. One night I decided to test them. I flagged a transaction tied to one of the foundations they'd mentioned. 20 minutes, my power went out. Not the building, just my unit. My phone lost service. No bars, no Wi-Fi. I heard footsteps outside my door. Slow, deliberate. A knock. 3 times. I didn't move. Another knock. Then a voice. My own voice. Open the door. That's when I broke. I called the gray-haired man. He answered immediately. "Experiments are unwise," he said. The footsteps stopped. The power came back on. I checked the hallway camera feed. No one was there. That was the panic moment. The hyperventilating, shaking, sliding down the wall panic. I realized I wasn't dealing with people I could expose. They were infrastructure. Embedded. Invisible. Weeks passed. Then months. I became quieter. Isolated. Friends stopped inviting me out because I canceled too often. I was afraid to leave my apartment after dark, afraid to sleep too deeply. One night I woke up at 4:17 again, not because of noise, because someone was standing beside my bed. I couldn't move. I don't know if it was shock or something else. A man stood there in the dark, not the gray-haired one, younger, clean suit, hands clasped in front of him. "You're adapting well," he said softly. I tried to scream. Nothing came out. "We need a higher level of trust." He placed something on my nightstand, a symbol I didn't recognize. "Wear this tomorrow." Then he walked out of my bedroom. The front door opened, closed. I lay there for I don't know how long before I could move. When I checked the cameras, there was no static. The footage showed my bedroom empty all night. No one entered. The pin was still on the nightstand. That was the loss of control realization. It didn't matter what cameras showed. Reality was negotiable. I wore the pin. At work, Two executives who had never spoken to me before nodded subtly when they saw it. Later that day, I was granted access to a restricted database. Inside were lists, names, politicians, judges, CEOs. Beside each name, financial leverage points, debt structures, offshore holdings, quiet settlements. I understood. Maintenance, not worship, not rituals. Control. And I was a tiny cog. But cogs are replaceable. I started recording everything. Audio logs, copies of files on encrypted drives hidden in different locations. If they were watching, and they were, I wanted them to know I wasn't fully compliant. It was reckless. I know that now. Because 2 weeks ago, my sister disappeared for 36 hours. No ransom note, no signs of struggle. Her phone last pinged near my apartment. Then it came back online. She returned home confused. She said she'd been at work the entire time. Her coworkers confirmed it. Security footage showed her at her desk. I showed her the missing person report I filed, the timestamp, the panic in my voice. She looked at me like I was unstable. I checked the report online later. It didn't exist. That's when I understood the final rule. They don't erase you. They edit you. Climax: 3 nights ago, I refused a direct instruction. Priority clearance. It required me to authorize a transfer large enough to destabilize a regional fund. It would hurt real people. Retirees. Small investors. I couldn't ignore it. I declined the authorization. At 4:17 a.m., every device in my apartment turned on at once. TV, laptop, tablet, phone. All screens displayed the same message. Non-compliance detected. The front door unlocked. I heard multiple footsteps. Not one, several. I grabbed the encrypted drives and ran to the fire escape. As I climbed down, someone inside my apartment said my name calmly, not shouting, just stating it, like a fact. I ran 3 blocks before I realized something was wrong. No cars, no street noise, no wind. It felt staged, artificially quiet. My phone vibrated, a live video feed opened. It showed me, from above, running. The angle shifted, closer, then closer. They were tracking in real time. I ducked into an alley and smashed the phone against the wall. It didn't break. The screen cracked, but the feed stayed active. That's when the gray-haired man appeared at the end of the alley. Running. Just standing. "How far do you think you can go?" he asked. I don't remember deciding to charge at him. I just did. But before I reached him, 2 men grabbed me from behind. Efficient, controlled, no shouting, no theatrics. They injected something into my neck. The last thing I saw before blacking out was the gray-haired man looking almost disappointed. Outro: final confession. I woke up in my apartment. Everything normal. No sign of forced entry. The drives were gone. My phone was intact on the nightstand. There was an email open on my laptop. Transfer authorized. My credentials. My timestamp. 4:17 a.m. My sister texted me that morning. "Are you okay? You've been acting weird." I asked what she meant. She said I came over last night for dinner. We watched a movie. I left around 11. I have no memory of that. There's a new clause in my employment contract now. A promotion. Higher clearance. More responsibility. They're not punishing me. They're elevating me. Because now they know I'll try to resist. And they know exactly how to correct it. If this recording reaches you, understand this. They don't recruit the powerful. They build them. They don't silence dissent with violence. They dissolve it with edits. If you ever wake up at the same time every night, if your devices glitch only when you question something, if someone offers you access to rooms where decisions are made, walk away. Don't attend. Don't sign. Because once they classify you as part of maintenance, your life stops being yours. And if I stop posting after this, if this channel goes quiet, just know I didn't disappear. I was adjusted. And the next time you hear your own voice telling you everything's fine, it probably isn't.